Social justice security guards. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from The Age. It's discussing some of the security guards that were hired for the hotel quarantine, which have obviously failed in Victoria, that they were chosen, for social inclusion. Social inclusion. In other words, discrimination. It wasn't merit-based hiring, it was discrimination-based hiring to get equality. Equality. And, this is really the most concerning aspect of all leftist ideologies at the moment, is moving away from a merit-based society, a merit-based civilization. You're not doing the people who you give the jobs to any justice. You're giving them an unfair disadvantage. You may give, promote someone too high or too fast, or give someone a job that they're not trained for or suited for. And right now, well, what's the consequences of it? Of this leftist ideology? Well, the entire economy of our nation looks like we're going to have a much longer recession. There's going to be people that are unemployed that probably wouldn't have been. You're going to have continuing high levels of unemployment. You're going to have people that are going to lose their businesses through no fault of their own. But thanks to this equality, we need to worry about rubbish things like people's skin color when we hire people. That's ludicrous. Normal people don't give a damn, okay? Normal people do not care about that. If you work hard, you put the right effort in, you have the right attitude, you're not a lazy bastard, you'll get the job. That's how it should be. Merit-based. That should be one of the requirements of our civilization, of a free society. I would honestly say there could be some ethnicities that might even have an advantage at being a security guard or a bouncer. How many huge-ass Maori blokes or Islander blokes are well-suited to being security? They'll just intimidate you by looking at them. It works. Nothing wrong with that. And they're often the nicest and most friendliest guys. But, can you see what's happened here? And this needs to be spoken about publicly. It's an uncomfortable thing. Comfortable circles don't like talking about this. But this just shows you how leftist ideology and thinking can cause unintended consequences. Do you honestly think the idiots that dreamed up these social inclusion ideas would realize that one day they may be sinking the country into additional years of recession, destroying businesses and having tremendous impacts? I doubt that they were that smart to realize the implications of what they were advocating for. But every person that advocated for this type of thinking, they're accountable. Everyone voting for it is accountable. In one way or another, even if the slightest bit. Because this is the consequences, guys. This is the consequences. So let's have a look. A senior Department of Jobs official has been shifted from their role as evidence mounts that the decision to use private security guards at Melbourne's quarantine hotels was partly driven by a well-meaning attempt to provide jobs under social inclusion policies. Well then, we don't need to remove the person. We need to remove the policies. The anti-discrimination legislation, I think it needs to be completely removed. We either remove the clauses in there that allow for affirmative or positive discrimination, or we remove it entirely and allow people to discriminate and then allow the market to sort itself out. Because only an idiot would discriminate on arbitrary things. If you have someone that's the right fit for the job, you wouldn't care about these arbitrary things. You wouldn't care about their race or their gender. That doesn't really matter. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I've hired people that have come from every race and country around the world. Or continent, we'll say. And guess what? Being a lazy, useless bastard, that's a universal. You can discover those people in every culture. And I've encountered that. I think it's got more to do with their upbringing than anything. A spoiled brat is a spoiled brat if they grew up in Africa or if they grew up in suburban Brisbane. A leaked email from another public servant, the department's deputy secretary for inclusion. See, that doesn't even need to... Why do we even have that title? the department... I mean, this is Melbourne. This is Victoria, guys. They are a rampant left-wing. They're bringing all this ideological garbage in there. They're advocating for the wage gap, which is a complete fantasy. It's an earnings gap. If you work harder, you should earn more. That's life. That is life. Okay? That's how it works. If you want to work harder, put the effort in, you should get rewarded. You may not, because life is unfair, but, you know, that's how it is sometimes. So it also paints a picture of how rushed the implementation was, describing heroic efforts over a weekend in late March as bureaucrats became expert in the delivery of hotel concierge services. The revelations will increase pressure on the Andrews government over whether it put too much emphasis on finding jobs for marginalised Victorians without ensuring that those guarding hotel guests were trained in infection control and supervised by authorised officers. Oh, well, don't worry. It's just now caused tremendous economic damage to our entire country. And this idiot, Andrews, he'll get in again. He'll get in again. What do you reckon, guys? Do you think he'll get in again? I have the disturbing feeling, just by looking on Facebook, the number of people that are going, yeah, you know, for the greater good, take away our rights, dictator, Commissar Andrews. Please, please, please. There you go. It just shows you, doesn't it? A spokesman for the Victorian Department of Jobs denied that job creation was the main driver. Supporting an effective quarantine program was the department's motivation, not job creation. Of course not, but we've got evidence here that you want to be inclusive. Infection outbreaks among security guards at 2 quarantine hotels in Melbourne are widely believed to be responsible for the state's second devastating wave of the coronavirus, which has killed dozens of people and put hundreds of thousands out of work. There should be a royal commission into this. The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald can now reveal that officials in the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions Employment Division and its international trade agency Global Victoria were responsible for engaging private security firms for hotel quarantine on the weekend of March 28th and 29th. They also had an ongoing role overseeing quarantine operations. The task of contracting the security firms was given to the department's Executive Director of Employment, whom the Age and Herald have chosen not to name. The official has since been replaced by 2 acting directors on the latest version of the department's organisation chart. The officer has retained their senior role at the department. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. But, I mean, can you blame the bureaucrat? You probably can. They've pushed this ideological garbage, but often it's beyond their control. They're forced to, or expected to act as per the policies of the government in control. And we know for a fact that Labor is, well, they've got quite stupid policies with regards to inclusivity, and they want to actively discriminate against certain groups of people. Media reports from 2013 reveal that the official had professional dealings with the Sydney-based security company, given much of the hotel quarantine work. Unified Security, in their previous role as General Manager of Work and Learning at the Brotherhood of St. Lawrence. Okay, so we may have an established relationship there. The charity and Unified established a partnership in 2012 to provide security training and jobs for marginalised people. The official also did some work with Unified in 2019 in finding a small number of positions for a Jobs Victoria project. As an Indigenous-owned company, Unified satisfies the government's criteria for contract under its social inclusion procurement policy. Okay, now, this sounds all nice and good, Indigenous-owned companies. But I've encountered this in the construction industry, where these builders, what they'll do is they'll just get some token Indigenous owners, put them on a proprietary limited company, and the guys just sit there getting money for nothing. It's utter garbage. It's just tokenistic. It doesn't do the Indigenous Australians any good. And look at what we're getting here. It should be merit-based. We need to remove these discriminatory policies. You're not helping anyone. You're not helping anyone. You're costing. Just think about it. Think about all the Indigenous Australians now that are going to lose their jobs. because of what's happening. It won the security contract for Metro trains last year and specifically referred to its Brotherhood of St. Lawrence partnership in briefing documents supplied to the government. A Monday, March 30 email written by the department's Deputy Secretary for Inclusion. Whenever I read that, I think of like the Ministry of Truth. I mean, Australia is a socialist country, everyone. You know, just look at how many people are willing to accept authoritarian rule, willing to give away their freedoms for the greater good. David Clements refers to the rush to get arrangements in place to handle returning travellers over the weekend. Mandatory 14-day quarantines had been authorised the previous Friday by National Cabinet. I've had a crazy weekend getting roped into helping with arrangements for standing up the hotel accommodating passengers returning from overseas for their 14-day quarantine, he wrote in the email. It's sufficient to say there's been some heroic efforts from numerous of your colleagues across DJPR to make this happen, including from the Executive Director of Employment, who is now an expert on contracting hotel security, the Global Victoria team, who are now expert in the delivery of hotel concierge services. The revelation of Global Victoria's role in hotel quarantine raises further questions for the government because the agency has no experience in security or public health measures. Global Victoria manages Victoria's trade relationships and international marketing. I mean, this is the problem when you get the government involved in any of these things. The hotel quarantine inquiry will examine the decision-making process that led to the hiring of security firms, and questions will be asked about who decided the Department of Jobs be given responsibility for contracting security providers and overseeing the rollout. Premier Daniel Andrews on Thursday said he was unable to explain how the decision to rely on private security guards was made, and Chief Health Officer Brent Sutton said on Friday he had found out about rumours and reporting around deficiencies with the workforce when I read it in the newspapers. Well, there you have it. Hasn't 60 Minutes done a video on it too? The rushed procurement process to find guards for hotel quarantine resulted in contracts being awarded to 3 security companies: Wilson, MMS and Unified. The appointment of Unified proved controversial because unlike Wilson and MMSS, it was not on the government's preferred panel of security suppliers. Despite this, Unified ended up doing the bulk of the hotel quarantine work. All 3 companies had to rely on subcontractors to supply their guards, some of whom were recruited via WhatsApp messengers at short notice. Don't we have a military here? Didn't the federal government offer to send in military forces to help with this? I guess that wouldn't be inclusive enough, wouldn't it? Oh, well, no, they discriminate too in their employment. Just look at how short the female soldiers need to spend in the military compared to the men. You know, half the time. So, this is the thing. This discrimination is rampant. It's not just Labour. It's also with Liberal. There's very little difference, guys. For those of you who think Liberal are different to Labour, come on. There's very little difference. You know, it's just depends on how close they are to orbiting Greens. In early April, well before the pandemic began crippling Victoria, Mr. Andrews and Jobs Coordination Minister Martin Pakula released a media statement highlighting the government's role in creating jobs for 1,300 Victorians whose employment prospects had worsened due to the global pandemic. The press release specifically referred to 450 jobs created in the hotel quarantine program, including transport operations, security and cleaning. International students and temporary migrants were key targets under the jobs program. Wow. So they're playing it up for political posturing, and now it's pretty much screwed up the entire country then. Fantastic. Fantastic. He shouldn't get voted back in, should he? Labour should get decimated in the next election, but I don't know. I don't know. Private security companies, including Unified, were also used in New South Wales hotel quarantine, but private security guards in Sydney were overseen by police or border force officials in each hotel. In Victoria, the government decided against using police or defence force personnel, and there remains considerable confusion in public service ranks and security companies about which department had ultimate responsibility. The Age and Herald have previously revealed leaked emails in which officials of the Department of Jobs requested Emergency Management Victoria and the Department of Health and Human Services get police involved in hotel quarantine in late March amid doubts about the preparedness of private security. Some senior police at the time were privately frustrated Victoria had not declared a state of disaster by Mr. Andrews. Such a declaration would have empowered police as the state's authorised officers to lead crucial aspects of the pandemic response instead of those powers remaining with health department officials under the less serious state of emergency provisions. Mr. Andrews declared a state of disaster recently when Melbourne was moved onto stage 4 restrictions. The inquiry into hotel quarantine, led by former state coroner Jennifer Coates, will begin public hearings later this month. She will deliver her report in November. So this is something we will have to keep an eye on, everyone. We'll have to keep an eye on. And here you can contact Richard on his Proton Mail. So, there you go, guys. What do you think? Do you think that a business being Indigenous owned should make absolutely any difference in it winning government jobs? You know? Do you think this social justice type of discrimination, do you think that's relevant? Do you think this will wake up people at the risks of this leftist thinking? How it can manifest, their unintended consequences. There's a reason why this stupid crap keeps failing again and again and again. The road to hell, everyone. It's paved in good intentions. It's going to be a tough year. As always, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support the content I create, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all in the next episode.